notice, and this is a typical copyright. We are on syllabus 2018 to 2027, Mathematics C Sec. Schedule of videos in September 2024, that is this month. I am hoping to have the 32 videos from section 1, and then October, the 13 to 15 videos from section 2, and so on, November, December, January, February, March, April, and hopefully by May 2025, I will try to get most of section 9 up, even some of it in April 2025. As you know, I have divided section 1 into 32 videos, all of which will be made available on YouTube in their entirety. Please make sure you know section 1 well before you go on to do the rest of the syllabus. So we are here now, video 7, add, subtract, multiply, and divide decimals. Note, objective 7 in this section, we will be talking about base 10 again, even though we did that in the last video in somewhat detail, objective 6, video 6. And also that continues up here, same objective, where we will be talking about base 2, base 4, and base 8. General principles of the various other bases. So we are here, objective 3, section 1, evaluate numerical expressions using any of the 4 basic operations for real numbers. So addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division of whole numbers, we did that in the last video. Fractions we will do in the next video. In this particular video, we will be dealing with decimals. This that you see up here is a print screen from the syllabus. So we are here, addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division of decimals. In video 1 of this section, we dealt with whole numbers. Now we will be dealing with decimals. Now, since we now understand the base 10 system and can add, multiply, subtract, and divide whole numbers in that base 10 system, doing the same operations with decimal is an extension of what we learned in the last video. So this video should be fairly easy if you understood what we did in the last video. Decimals are a convenient way of expressing fractions. Now, I know we think of decimal and we think of fractions as two different things. They are the same thing. For example, 0.5, which we will call a decimal, is the decimal fraction of the vulgar fraction 5/10, which reduces to half. So 0.5 and a half, they are the same thing. The 0.5 is the decimal fraction, we just call it decimals, and the half is the vulgar fraction, and we just call that fraction. Now consider the table below to see the equivalent decimal fractions and vulgar fractions. For example, 0.5 is really 5/10, but if you reduce that, you will get half. So half is the vulgar fraction for 0.5, which is the decimal fraction. And so on, 0.25 is the same as a quarter, and 0.625 is the same as 625/1000. You reduce that and you get 5/8, and so on. So when we say decimals, we actually mean decimal fractions. And when we say a fraction like this, we actually mean vulgar fraction. All right, so now let's continue with adding decimals. If you had to add 7, 0.56, and 0.285. Before we get to that, let us back up a little. You will recall when we were dealing with whole numbers, if we let this column here be the ones, then on the left here, we will have 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, and 100,000, and so on. We will come back to that. But on the right, that what you have here is 1/10, and that is expressed as a 0.1. That is the first position after the whole number place. And then the second position is 100, which is written as 10 to the negative 2. And then the third position is, that is this one, is 1,000, which is written as 0.001, and so on, the fourth position. Coming back this way to the left, this here, the ones position, is 10 to the 0. The tens position is 10 to the 1 power, 100 is 10 to the second, 1,000 is 10 to the third, and so on. So we have a continuum here. Recall we said that it takes 10 of one column to make one of the next one on its left. The same principle applies here. It takes 10 of this to make one of that, or it takes 10 of this to make one of that column, or go the other way around. If you take one of this and you carry it to that column, you will get 10 in this new column. So basically, we are using the same principle that we used in the last video. So if you are going to add these decimals, we set them down like this. Note, we keep the points and therefore the place values lined up. So this column here will be the 1/10th, that column there will be the 100th, this column here will be the 1,000, just like what we were doing with whole numbers. And then we add 5, 8, and 6, 14. You cross out the 4 and put it down there. So 8 and 6, 14. You cross out that 4 and put it here. And that 1 goes above in that column here. So 7, 1, 8, and 2, 10, 15. You take that 5 and put it under here. Remember to bring down the point, and then that 1 goes over here. The 1 goes over here. So we are still dealing with base 10, but now we extend the digits to the right of the decimal point. So we are dealing with Q, which rational numbers, which include fraction, and not only Z, integer, whole numbers. We have extended the format of the numbers that we are using. Normally, you don't have to add just the decimal part as we did up here. There may also be a whole number part like this. Add 23, that's the whole number part, 0.7, that's the fraction part, 9.56, and 235.285. Same principle. You set down the numbers. Remember, we are doing this without a calculator. You set down the numbers such that the decimal points are all lined up, and therefore all the digits that are in the ones position will be in that column there. All the digits that are in the tens position will be in that column there. All the digits that are in the hundreds position will be in that column there. All the digits that are in the 1/10th position will be in this column here, and in the 100 position, and in the 1,000 position. So if you line up the points and you make sure the numbers are one under the other, all other numbers will be lined up. So you set that down and you add 5, and there's nothing up there to add. So you get 5 here, 8 and 6, 14. This is the same addition we did up there. Cross out the 4 and put it here. And that one goes in this column where that 7 is. 7 and 1, 8 and 2, 10 and 5, 15. Cross out the 5 and put it here. This 1 goes in this column where that 3 is. So 3 and 1, 4 and 9, 13 and 5, 18. We cross out that 8 and put it there. Remember to bring down the decimal point. This one goes where that above that column there with the 2, 2 of 1, 3, and 3, 6, and then we get 2. So you add it very similar to whole numbers, except now you have to pay attention to the decimal point. Subtracting decimals. If we have to subtract from 0.7, 0.284, we will set it down like this. Remember to keep the points lined up, and therefore all the places will be lined up. You can subtract 5 from 0. So what you would do, you would add some zeros there. You still can subtract 5 from 0. And you can subtract 8 from 0. So you come to the 7 here, cross out that 7, make it 6. Remember, if you take 1 from the left and carry to the right, you get 10. So that 10 plus this 0 would give you 10. Cross out that 10, take 1 from there, that would leave you with 9. And that 1 would give you 10 of the 1 to the right. So now we have 5 from 10, and we get 5. 8 from 9, we get 1. 2 from 6, we get 4. Remember to bring down the point and the 0. So normally you wouldn't have to subtract just the decimal part. There may also be a whole number part, like from 23.72, subtract 9.564. Crucial thing, again, please remember to line up the points. And therefore, all the digits in the ones column will be immediately to the left of the point. To the tens column would be 2 places away on the left. To the 1/10th position will be immediately to the right of the decimal point. To the 100th position will be 2 places from the right of the decimal point, and the 1000. Okay, I think I have made that point quite clear. So keep all the points lined up, and therefore all the columns will be lined up. You have to, again, 4 from 0, that wouldn't work. So you put a 0 there. You can subtract 4 from 0, so you take 1 from this 2, leaving 1 there, and that 1 will give you 10 on the one on the right. 10 plus that 0 is 10. 4 from 10 would give you 6. 6 from 1, you can't do that, so you take 1 from the 7, that would leave you 6 here, and that 1 would give you 10, plus this 1 would now give you 11. 6 from 11 gives you 5. 5 from 6, 1. 9 from 3, that wouldn't work, so you take 1 from there, and that will give you that 10 plus the 3 would give you 13. 9 from 13 is 4, and then you have that 1 remaining. Remember to bring down the point exactly down here, and so you get 14.156. And add and subtract decimal in the same way you would whole numbers, making sure that the decimal points are all lined up vertically. Now, the general rule for addition and subtraction of decimals, as we already did, you add and subtract them as you would, paying close attention to the points, but as it relates to the signs, if the numbers have the same sign, you simply add and retain the sign, like 2 plus or 2 minus. For example, 2.5 plus 3.2. Now remember, there's a plus here, so those numbers have the same sign. You add them and you retain the plus sign. Of course, you don't write the plus sign. And if they have 2 negative signs, as you could see here, you add them and you retain the negative sign. You retain the sign. This is for addition and subtraction. And if they have different signs, you will subtract, always subtract, and retain the sign in front of the larger number. So you have 2.5 minus 3.2. 3.2 is larger. Take away the 2.5 from the 3.2, you get 0.7. And because this minus is in front of the larger number, you retain the minus. Now this one here is plus 0.32 minus 0.25. You subtract and you get 0.7. The plus sign is in front of the larger number, so you keep the plus sign here. Of course, you don't write it out. Now, if you find this video useful and interesting, please like and share. That is, like and share. And you may even consider subscribing to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, and it means a lot to me. Now we come to multiplication of decimals. If you have to multiply 3.26 by 0.4, of course, without a calculator, you will set it down like this. You will not try to line up the points. Do not try to line up the points. We are doing multiplication here. What you will try to do is to make sure that the digits on the far right are lined up, like the 6 and the 4. And then you will treat this as if though the points were not there, temporarily. Then multiply as you would for whole numbers. Ignore the points for now. We are going to temporarily ignore the points. So you say 4 6 is 24. 24. You cross out the 4 and you put it down here. Now that 2 actually goes over into the next column. 4 2 is 8 and 2 10. You cross out that and put it there. We will come back to the point just now. You have a 1, 4 3 is 12, and 1 13. You could cross out the whole 13 and put it down here. Now for the points. We count the total number of points in the numbers we are multiplying, and we have 2 points here, like 0.26, so we have 2 digits on the right of the point, and 0.4 we have 1. So the total number of digits on the right of the numbers that we are multiplying adds up 3. So you come in your answer and you're beginning from this end, count 3 digits and put the point there. So you count 4, 0, 3, and you put the point here. So the answer is 1.304. So let's take a little more complicated decimal, multiply. 0.326 multiplied by 3.4. Again, do not try to line up the points. What we want to do is line up the numbers, ignoring the points. So this last digit on the top number, which is 6, we will line that up with the last digit on the second number, which is 4. And then we will ignore the points temporarily and treat this as if though they were whole numbers. So you know how you do that now. We multiply by this 4 fours. 4 6 is 24. We cross out that 4 and put it here. 4 2 is 8 and 2 10. We put that 0 there. 4 3 is 12 and 1 13. And you put down the whole 13 there. Forget about the point for now. Then you multiply by this 3. 3 6 is 18. Remember that 8 goes under this digit that we are multiplying by, not here. And you add a 0 here to make sure you don't confuse things. Then 3 2 6, and that one is 7. 3 3 is 9, that is it. You draw a line there and you add these 4 8 7 and 3 10. So you put a 0 here and a 1 goes over in the next column. 9 and 1 10 and 1 11. And so now we will have to deal with the decimal point. 3 digits on the right of that decimal point plus 1, 4 digits. So our answer must have 4 digits on the right of the decimal point. So we count 1 2 3 4, and therefore we will need to put our decimal point here. This is our decimal point. So our answer is 1.1084. Still on multiplying decimals, if you have this decimal, now this is basically the same number we were using just now, except we shift the points around. So we multiply it. Again, we will not try to line up the points. We will try to line up the digits as if though we are dealing with whole numbers. You multiply that, you get 4 here and 0 there and 3 there and 1 there. We have done this before. Then you multiply by the 3, you get 8 there. Make sure you put a 0 at this point, and you get 7 and 9. You add those, and that is what you get. And now let's see how many decimal places we need in the answer. You have 4 and 3, 7 decimal places in total on the right-hand side of the point. So our answer must have a total of 7 decimal places. You count 1, 2, 3, 4, then add some zeros until you get 7. So we get, that would be 6, that would be 7. So now our decimal point needs to be here. Put our decimal point, but add a 0 here to make it look neat. And this is our answer, 0.00110884, if we multiply these two decimals. Now we come to division of decimals. If the divisor is a whole number, for example, 8.4, that's the decimal, divide by 6, you just divide it as you would with whole numbers and keep the point where it is. So you set it up like this, with the 6 there, 6 into 8, 6 ones, 6, subtract those two, and you get 2 here, bring down the 4, but before you bring down the 4, you carry up the point. And so you bring down the 4 now, 6 into 24, 6 fours, 24, and you're finished. So that 8.4 divided by 6 is equal to 1.4. Not that difficult. Continuing with division of decimals, 8.79 divided by 0.6. Now, we have to make one preliminary step before we continue like what we did just now. And the one thing is, you shift the point in the divisor to the right as many points as required so that that number becomes a whole number. And then you move the point that many places to the right in the number to be divided. So in this case, 0.6, we would shift that point one place, and therefore we will shift this point one place. So the division we now have is 87.9 divided by 6. And whatever answer you get, that is the answer. You don't have to shift any point anywhere else again. So 6 into 8, 616, remainder 2, bring down the 7, 6 into 27, 6 fours, 24, and you get 3. Carry up your point, make sure you keep the point in place. Now bring down the 9, 6 into 39, 6 sixes, 36, and you get 3. Now, since you already have this point here, there are as many zeros on the right here as you like. So we can bring down a 0. 6 into 30, 6 fives, 30. And this is your answer. 8.79 divided by 0.6 is 14.65. You don't have to bother about shifting any decimal place in your... If the divisor is a decimal, which is the second example of what we just did, 8.79 divided by 0.006. So we're dividing a decimal by a decimal. Remember what we said about making this divisor a whole number. You shift the point as many places as required to make it a whole number. So we required 3 places there, which means that we would have to shift this point here 3 places as well. 1, 2, and we will add a 0 to make up the third space. So now it becomes 8,790 divided by 6. Whatever answer you get there, that is your answer. You don't have to bother about shifting back any decimal point anywhere. So 6 into 8, 6 ones, 6, subtract, you get 2, of course. Bring down the 7, 6 into 27, 6 fours, 24, and you get 3, 3. Bring down the 9, 6 into 39, 6 sixes, 36. Subtract that and you get 3. Bring down the 0, 6 into 30, 6 fives, 30. And so your answer to this question, this original question here, 8.79 divided by 0.006. Your answer to that is 1,465. Now, the general rules for multiplication and division of decimals. Of course, remember, if you don't see a sign in front of a number, it means plus. So if the two numbers have the same sign, like 2 plus or 2 minus, then multiply or divide accordingly, and the sign for the answer is always positive. For example, 2.1 multiplied by 0.3 is equal to 0.63. You have a plus here, you have a plus here, you also have a plus here, but you don't write those. Now, negative 2.1 multiplied by negative 0.3 is equal to positive 0.63. Like signs, multiplying and divide will always give you plus in your answer. And of course, if you have unlike signs, opposite signs, you will always get negative in the answer. 2.4 divided by negative 0.8, remember that's a positive. You divide it, you get 3. The sign will be negative because you are dealing with unlike signs in multiplication and division. And the same thing holds true for here. A negative and a positive, you will get a negative answer. And that is all you need to know about multiplication and division of whole numbers. In this video 1.3.2, we did addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division of decimal, which is an extension of the whole numbers we were doing in the last video. Next, we will look at fraction. It will be a little more complicated. And that brings us to the end of video 2 of objective 3 in section 1.